I stand frozen at the entrance of the Waterford Hotel's grand ballroom, my fingers clutching my modest navy dress. The crystal chandeliers cast prisms across the room, illuminating Boston's elite in their natural habitat, laughing too loudly, kissing cheeks that have never felt genuine warmth, trading stock tips disguised as pleasantries. Julian's hand rests at the small of my back, reassuring. Then suddenly it's gone. "There you are," Camille Graves says, approaching with a champagne flute balanced between manicured fingers. My sister-in-law, soon-to-be bride, and architect of 1,000 small humiliations. Her serpentine smile never reaches her eyes. "I wasn't sure you'd make it." The lie hangs between us. She knew exactly when we'd arrive. Julian had texted her from the car. "Wouldn't miss it," I say, accepting the champagne she doesn't offer. Julian shifts his weight, already drifting toward his father across the room. "I should check in with Dad about tomorrow's schedule." And just like that, I'm alone. I follow Camille past tables draped in cream linens, each set with precision crystal stemware catching light, name cards in perfect calligraphy. She leads me through the entire ballroom, past every table, until we've completed a full circuit. "That's odd," I say, stopping. "I don't see my place setting." Camille's smile tightens. She leans close, her breath warm against my ear. "Only essential guests get seats at a Graves, Pierce affair." Her voice carries just enough for nearby guests to turn. Heat crawls up my neck. There must be some mistake. Julian reappears, champagne in hand, eyes darting between us. "What's going on?" "There's no place for me," I say. 3 years of marriage, and I still sound surprised when his family pulls these stunts. "Don't make a scene, babe. We'll figure something out." Julian's hand returns to my back, but lighter now, barely touching. Across the room, Donald Westbrook observes our exchange, his weathered face impassive. At 68, the billionaire carries himself with the confidence of a man who's survived 1,000 calculations just like this one. 3 years earlier, I stood at a podium, scholarship recipient presenting at a business ethics panel. Julian approached afterward, charming and curious. "I've never heard anyone challenge the Millerson acquisition so effectively," he'd said. 2 months later, he introduced me to his family. His mother had looked me over with practiced politeness. How interesting that Julian's found someone so different. Different. Their code for a girl from Indiana who'd never summered on the vineyard or known which fork to use first. The corrections came subtly at first. Julian's mother guiding my hand to the correct water glass. His father interrupting my stories with, "What Marley means to say." Camille's constant little jabs pointing out my quaint upbringing, my adorable attempts to understand their world. And Julian slowly surrendering. First defending me, then deflecting, finally joining their gentle mockery. "Marley's still learning," he'd say, as if my entire life before him had been mere preparation for the glory of becoming a proper Graves. Even now, his hand on my back feels like an apology he'll never actually speak. "Attention, everyone." Camille taps her glass, gathering the room. "I'd like to propose a toast." The crowd quiets. Julian guides me to stand awkwardly at the edge of a table where no chair awaits me. Camille raises her glass. "To new beginnings and strategic partnerships." Her eyes flick to Donald Westbrook. Even if some of our distinguished guests remind me of those turkey buzzards circling along Wall Street, waiting for the next unfortunate victim. Laughter ripples through the crowd. Gregory Graves, my father-in-law, laughs loudest, his eyes fixed on Westbrook's reaction. The old man doesn't flinch. His gaze remains steady, calculating, cold. I recognize that look, not wounded pride, but the quiet assessment of a predator deciding exactly where to strike. Westbrook raises his glass slightly, nodding to Camille with a tight smile. I've seen that look before. In boardrooms, in negotiations, in moments before someone loses everything. My hands shake as I step onto the terrace. The night air cools my flushed skin as Boston's skyline glitters below, indifferent to the humiliations happening behind its windows. They never change, do they? I turn to find Jade Westbrook beside me, Donald's daughter, and the only person in this circle who's ever treated me like a human being rather than an inconvenience. At least they're consistent, I say, forcing a smile. Jade glances back toward the ballroom. Dad's pulling out of the Graves deal. The words stop my breath. What? He's just waiting for the right moment. After tonight's little performance. She shrugs. He likes you, you know. Says you're the only one in that family with any integrity. I watch through the window as Camille holds court. Julian at her side, the perfect brother laughing at the perfect joke. 3 years of trying to earn a place at their table, only to be left standing. Something shifts inside me. A quiet click, like a lock finally opening. What would you do, I ask, still watching the celebration, if the people who should protect you left you standing alone? The crystal in my hand catches the light, throwing fractured rainbows across my skin. In that scattered light, for the first time, I see the path forward with perfect clarity. I'd choose my moment, Jade says softly, and I wouldn't miss. I pause outside Gregory's study, my hand frozen on the polished brass doorknob. Julian's voice drifts through the gap-strained, hesitant, nothing like the assured tone he uses in boardrooms. She's been patient, Dad. Maybe we should reconsider. Patience doesn't make her suitable. Gregory's reply cuts like steel. Once the Pierce merger is complete, you can trade up to someone more suitable. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticks, marking seconds that stretch like years. I should walk away. I should make noise. Instead, I stand perfectly still, becoming invisible as I've learned to do at so many Graves family gatherings. What about after the ceremony? Julian asks. Bill will notice if Marley just disappears. A chair creaks. Ice clinks against crystal. Your sister understands the situation. We've discussed it. Of course they have. The conspirators plotting my removal like I'm a business expense to be written off. The minority outreach approval came through yesterday. Gregory continues. The board was impressed with your commitment to diversity initiatives. My stomach clenches. 3 years of marriage, and this is what I've been reduced to, a diversity initiative. She served her purpose. Julian's voice has changed, hardened to match his father's. You're right, it's time to move forward. The wedding band on my finger suddenly feels like a shackle. I twist it once, twice. A nervous habit I developed after Julian's mother commented that my hands were always so restless, dear. I back away silently, the carpet swallowing my footsteps. In our bedroom, I stare at myself in the mirror, the carefully highlighted hair, the tailored clothes selected to blend in with the Graves aesthetic, the pearls Julian gave me on our first anniversary. A stranger stares back. My home office is the one room Julian never enters. Too cramped, he complained once. Too honest, I think now, unlocking the bottom drawer of my desk. The folder inside contains every article, every financial report, every whispered rumor about the Graves-Pierce merger. Methodically labeled tabs track each player. Gregory, Pierce Sr., the investment board, key shareholders. And Donald Westbrook Heath Foundation, everything rests upon. My laptop screen glows as I dig deeper, searching databases Julian doesn't know I can access. 3 hours later, the picture clarifies. The merger's entire structure depends on Westbrook's backing his capital, his influence, his seal of approval. A new tab reveals an unexpected connection. 4 years ago, Camille pitched herself for a position at Westbrook's foundation. Her application letter drips with false humility and calculated charm. Next page, Westbrook's polite rejection. The following pages tell the story through society columns and business journal, quotes Camille's systematic campaign to mock Westbrook's philanthropic efforts. Outdated approaches, she called them. Throwing good money after bad causes. I print everything, adding it to my growing file. My phone buzzes. Jade Westbrook's name flashes on the screen. I was about to call you, I say. Beat you to it. Her laugh carries none of the artificial lilt that Camille's friends affect. Dad mentioned seeing you at the rehearsal dinner. Standing room only? The memory stings less than it should. I need to understand exactly what your father knows about the Graves family. Silence stretches between us. When Jade speaks again, her voice has lost its lightness. Did something happen, besides Camille being her usual charming self? Let's just say I'm conducting due diligence on my investment. The line goes quiet. I can almost see Jade weighing her options, assessing risks. The Westbrooks didn't amass their fortune by being careless with information. Camille's been spreading rumors, she finally says, about Dad's health, suggesting investors should be concerned about his ability to maintain his holdings. My pen taps against the desk. To devalue his position before the merger announcement. Precisely. I close my eyes, seeing the web of manipulation clearly now. Some people only learn respect when they lose everything. That sounds ominous, Jade says, but her tone suggests approval rather than concern. Just thinking aloud, I flip through my notes. How vulnerable is the Graves-Pierce empire really, if someone wanted to apply pressure? Hypothetically speaking, the smile in her voice is unmistakable. I could put together some information. For educational purposes. I'd appreciate that. After we hang up, I schedule a meeting midnight, the Star Diner on Route 9, far from the usual Graves haunts. The kind of place Julian would never set foot in. I spend the next 3 hours calculating exactly how much leverage I need, how many pieces must align. The Graves family built their reputation on appearances, the perfect home, the perfect children, the perfect connections. Remove one support beam and the entire structure trembles. Remove the cornerstone, and it collapses entirely. At 11:30 p.m., Julian sleeps beside me, his breathing deep and regular, confident, secure. The man who hours ago agreed I had served my purpose. I slip from the bed without disturbing him, and stand by the window, phone in hand. Donald Westbrook answers on the second ring. Mrs. Graves, I've been expecting your call. If you're going to walk away, I say without preamble, do it while they're distracted. A pause. Then a low, appreciative chuckle rumbles through the line. Timing is everything, my dear. Yes, I say, watching Julian's oblivious form in our marriage bed. It certainly is. The morning sun casts long shadows across the manicured lawn of the Graves estate. I fold wedding programs with mechanical precision, while caterers scurry through the grand foyer like ants preparing for winter. 3 years in this world, and I still feel like an anthropologist studying a foreign culture. Marley, dear, could you please check if the florist delivered the correct shade of peonies? Eleanor Graves doesn't look up from her clipboard, her voice tight with the strain of perfection. Camille was very specific about wanting blush, not pink. Of course. I smooth my skirt and rise from the antique settee. The distinction between blush and pink seems absurdly important today. Julian rushes past me, phone pressed to his ear, pausing just long enough to plant a distracted kiss on my cheek. Camille's having a crisis with the florist. I need to. I know. Your mother just asked me to check. I catch his arm. Maybe we could have lunch once things settle? Not today, babe. He squeezes my hand before pulling away. Too many fires to put out. The moment he disappears, my phone buzzes. A text from Westbrook. It's done. Watch the news at noon. My fingers tighten around the phone. 5 words that will alter the trajectory of the Graves dynasty forever. Yet the world around me continues its frantic preparation, oblivious to the approaching storm. I slip the phone into my pocket and head toward the East Wing, where Julian set up his temporary office. The door stands ajar. His laptop glows on the mahogany desk, abandoned in his rush to solve Camille's latest catastrophe. I shouldn't look. But something about Julian's carelessness with his belongings and with Mep propels me forward. An email thread with Camille sits open on the screen. Julian, once we announce the directorship, you can start fresh with Caroline. The board meeting Monday will make everything official. Dad says Marley's PR value is exhausted anyway. The diversity initiative got us the permits we needed. My lungs constrict. I scroll down. Photos of Julian at Dauphine's with a willowy blonde appear, his hand resting on hers. The date stamp shows Tuesday when he claimed to be in meetings until midnight. The wetness on my cheeks surprises me. I thought I'd cried myself empty after the rehearsal dinner, but this betrayal cuts deeper than any public humiliation. I've been a prop in their social theater, a convenient tool now ready for replacement. I wipe my face with steady hands, straighten spine. Tears won't fix what's been broken. Only calculated action will. I move the emails to a folder and forward the entire thread to my personal account before closing the laptop exactly as I found it. Downstairs, the first tremors begin. Gregory Graves stands in the study doorway, his face ashen as he clutches his phone. The confident patriarch suddenly looks like a man who's glimpsed his own mortality. "What do you mean, unusual trading activity?" His voice carries across the marble entry. "Nothing moves until after the wedding. That was the agreement." He catches me watching and slams the study door. Within minutes, men in dark suits arrive through the side entrance. The family's financial team never uses the front door. They rush past without acknowledging me, as always. In the breakfast room, Camille's future father-in-law, Harrison Pierce, corners Gregory with urgent whispers. "My sources at Morgan say something's happening. Please tell me you haven't." "Not here," Gregory hisses, steering the older man toward his private study. The caterers exchange glances. They sense the shifting atmosphere like animals before an earthquake. Money has its own weather patterns, and the barometric pressure is dropping rapidly. "You're up early." Jade Westbrook appears at my elbow, resplendent in emerald silk that matches her eyes. She squeezes my hand, her touch conveying what words cannot in this surveilled space. "Sleep well?" "Like someone with nothing to hide," I reply. My college roommate Aisha arrives next, her law firm partner pin gleaming on her lapel. Then Michael from my economics program, now heading his own investment firm. One by one, my people arrive successful in their own right, independent of family connections. They form a protective circle I never thought to assemble until now. Across the room, Donald Westbrook enters with the quiet confidence of a man who knows he holds the detonator. His RSVP had been a regretful decline until yesterday. Gregory's face tightens at the sight of him, a muscle jumping in his jaw. "What's he doing here?" Camille hisses at Julian, not bothering to lower her voice. "Be nice," Julian mutters. "Market's been volatile. We need him calm." The final dress rehearsal dinner begins promptly at 11. Crystal gleams in the sunlight streaming through French doors. Gregory stands, champagne flute raised high, his confidence seemingly restored. "Today marks not just the union of two people, but of two great families," he proclaims. The Graves Pierce alliance represents the future of finance in this country, built on generations of tradition and... Every phone in the room buzzes simultaneously. The synchronized symphony of alerts cuts through his speech. Camille grabs Julian's phone first. Her face drains of color as she reads the Bloomberg headline. Westbrook divests entirely from Graves Holdings. Her champagne glass slips from manicured fingers. It falls in agonizing slow motion, shattering against the hardwood with a crystalline explosion that perfectly mirrors the family's collapsing future. "What does this mean?" whispers Julian's mother, clutching her pearls. "What it means is destruction. Their assets, their standing, their very identity all built on Westbrook backing. Without it, the Pierce merger collapses. Without the merger, the overextended Graves finances cannot sustain themselves." Donald Westbrook sips his champagne, his eyes meeting mine across the chaos. He raises his glass slightly, a private toast to patience and timing. I don't smile. This isn't about joy or even satisfaction. It's about consequences finally finding those who believe themselves exempt from the natural order. As Camille sinks into a chair, her perfect features contorted in disbelief, I wonder which feels more devastating: immediate destruction or the slow realization that everything you've built is already gone. The storm has arrived, and not a single umbrella in sight. Stock tickers flash blood red across smartphones throughout the ballroom. The wedding venue transforms into a war room in seconds. Down 18 points and falling. A Graves executive bolts past me, phone pressed to his ear. Get our positions covered. I sip my champagne, watching chaos bloom. The crystal catches light, splitting rainbows across the pristine tablecloth, the same table where hours ago, no place existed for me. Across the room, Landon's father clutches his chest, his face ashen. I can't breathe, he gasps. His wife screams for help as he slides against the wall, necktie yanked loose by panicked fingers. Medical staff materialized from somewhere, their urgency cutting through the pandemonium. Gregory Graves doesn't spare his business partner a glance. Fix this immediately, Camille shrieks at Julian, her perfect makeup cracking under the strain. Her white-knuckled grip wrinkles the silk of her rehearsal gown. Call your contacts at Goldman. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. Julian's phone buzzes relentlessly. His complexion matches the seafoam napkins. Everyone's dumping. No one's taking my calls. Gregory hurls his phone against the marble wall. The shattering crack silences the room for one suspended moment. Call Donald, he roars at Julian. Beg him back. Tell him we'll apologize publicly, whatever he wants. I trace the rim of my glass. I could try reaching out, I offer, my voice cutting through their panic with unexpected clarity. He and I have spoken recently. 5 heads snap toward me. Julian stares as if seeing me for the first time. What did you say? Gregory steps closer, his cologne sharp with alcohol and desperation. Donald Westbrook. I meet his gaze. Had several conversations in the past month. Julian's face shifts from confusion to dawning comprehension. You talked to Westbrook? When? How? After the foundation dinner. The one where Camille said his charity work was performative wealth guilt. I set my glass down with a gentle click. He found my perspective on ethical investment refreshing. Gregory grabs my elbow, fingers digging into skin. Whatever he wants, he whispers hoarsely. Tell him he can name his price. I glance at his hand until he releases me. Pierce Sr. taps a knife against Crystal, commanding attention. His voice cuts with the precision of a surgeon performing an amputation without anesthesia. In light of today's financial developments, tomorrow's celebration will be postponed indefinitely. Each word falls like an executioner's axe. Camille crumples. Not gracefully, like in movies, but with the unhinged abandon of someone watching their life's architecture collapse. Her wail pierces the charade of composure everyone else maintains. Daddy, fix it. She pounds her father's chest with manicured fists. This is my day, mine. I catch Jade's eye across the room. Her slight nod acknowledges our shared witness to this implosion. Julian's phone rings. He steps away to answer, returns ghost white. The board wants an emergency meeting. They're questioning my position in light of recent events. Your position? He spits the words. The company's hemorrhaging millions by the minute. That's exactly why, Julian whispers. They're saying we need fresh leadership untainted by the Westbrook situation. My phone vibrates. I check the notification, a Bloomberg alert. Westbrook Industries divests entirely from Graves Holdings. Multiple investors follow suit. The room's attention gravitates to various screens. A financial analyst on CNBC speaks with barely contained excitement. What makes this extraordinary is the timing. Westbrook didn't just pull out, systematically informed every major financial outlet simultaneously. This was impulse. This was execution. Who does he think he is? Gregory seethes. Social media already buzzes with hashtags. Graves' mistake and wedding crash trending side by side. My phone rings. Westbrook's name illuminates the screen. I answer, moving toward the terrace where I can speak privately. Marley. His voice carries the satisfaction of a chess master announcing checkmate. I believe you mentioned an ethical investment concept last month. Something about sustainable manufacturing with minority leadership? I did, I confirm, watching Julian search for me through the glass doors. I'd like to discuss funding options. Tomorrow, perhaps? I suddenly find my portfolio with room for new ventures. Julian's mother finds me as I end the call. Her hands, always so steady at charity galas, tremble as they grasp mine. Marley, dear, her voice honeycoats desperation. You must help us. Speak to Donald. Explain it was all a misunderstanding. Gregory appears behind her. We've been discussing board positions, actually. Diversity initiatives. Your background and perspective would be valuable. The same perspective they mocked for 3 years. Camille approaches next, tears streaming. Designer tracks down her cheeks. I never meant those things I said. She sobs. You know how it is, family teasing. We've always considered you one of us. I study her with the same cool assessment Westbrook used hours earlier. Some things can't be undone with words, I say quietly. Sometimes the only language people understand is consequence. Julian watches from across the room, the weight of realization finally settling across his shoulders. Too late, he truly sees me standing on my own. The Graves mansion feels like a mausoleum. Cardboard boxes line the marble hallways where crystal vases once gleamed. Half-empty bookshelves collect dust. A Monet hangs crooked on the wall, as if the painting itself has given up. I run my fingertips along the dining table's mahogany edge, the same table where I was deemed unworthy of a seat just weeks ago. Now Gregory Graves sits at its head, his once imperious posture collapsed into something resembling humility. Elaine's hands tremble as she pours coffee. Julian paces by the window. Camille is notably absent. Marley? Gregory slides a leather portfolio toward me, his voice pitched to sound warm. We've been doing some thinking about family legacy. My fingers remain folded in my lap. I make him stretch further across the table to deliver his peace offering. These are ownership shares in what remains of Graves Holdings, he continues. A significant stake. We want to make amends. Julian stops pacing and places his hands on my shoulders. The weight feels suffocating. We've always valued your perspective, he recites, the words practiced and hollow. Your insight about ethical business practices, about inclusion. They're exactly what we need to rebuild. His thumb rubs circles against my collarbone, a gesture once comforting, now calculated. I notice something beneath the stack of paperwork. A small black disc, barely visible. A recording device. They're documenting my acceptance for future leverage. My pulse stays steady. I've been waiting for this moment. How interesting, I say, using their favorite dismissive phrase. When exactly did you start valuing my perspective, Julian? Before or after you discussed me as a temporary situation with your father? The pressure of his hands freezes mid-circle. What are you talking about? Elaine whispers. I reach into my purse and pull out my phone. The recording is queued up, their voices crystal clear. Once the Pierce merger is complete, you can trade up to someone more suitable. Gregory's voice fills the room. She served her purpose. Got us that minority outreach approval. Julian's voice follows. I don't need to look up to feel the oxygen sucking out of the room. I continue anyway, scrolling to a series of screenshots. Or perhaps Camille values my perspective. These text messages to you, Julian, about my adorable attempts to use the right fork and backwater accent suggest otherwise. Gregory's face has gone from pale to gray. Marley, we can explain. I've been in talks with Westbrook for weeks, I interrupt, closing their portfolio without opening it. Not for revenge, but because he recognizes value where you never did. You? Betrayed us? Julian stammers, removing his hands from my shoulders as if I've burned him. I laugh. This sounds sharp and unfamiliar even to my own ears. I didn't cause your fall. I simply stopped protecting you from yourselves. Elaine's coffee cup clatters against its saucer. You couldn't possibly. My phone pings. I glance down at the notification. That would be your Greenwich estate. The listing just went live. 10 million under market value, but you need liquid assets, don't you? Julian grabs for my phone. I slide it back into my purse. Where's Camille? I ask. Still celebrating her new job opportunity in Austria? Gregory's fingers dig into the table edge. How do you know about that? It's not a promotion, it's exile. The Pierce family wants her as far from American business circles as possible after her toast sank their merger. The grandfather clock ticks in the corner. Each stroke sounds like a prison door locking. Your trust fund's been decimated to cover margin calls, Julian. I continue. The board meeting tomorrow will strip your father of his remaining directorships. Society columnists who once fawned over Camille are writing about the grave's rapid descent. Elaine's phone rings. She glances at it, then silences it without answering. The Winthrop Foundation? I ask. That's the third call you've declined today. Funny how your former friends are suddenly too busy to speak with you. Gregory rubs his temples. Camille had to shut down her social accounts yesterday. The mockery became unbearable. I stand, smoothing my skirt. Gregory stares at me, his face collapsed with new lines, looking 10 years older than he did a week ago. The Blackwell Gala rescinded your invitation this morning, I add. The first of many, I expect. You planned all this, Julian whispers. Not a question. No, I simply connected the dots you created. When you can't speak your own truth, the universe sometimes speaks it for you. I pull my house keys from my purse and place them on the table. The sound rings final. I won't be returning. Julian lurches forward, panic breaking through his practiced composure. We can start over. I'll change. I study him, this man I once loved enough to endure 1,000 humiliations. The desperation in his eyes isn't for me. It's for the life raft he thinks I represent. You already did change, I say softly, from the man I loved to the man they wanted. I walk toward the door, my footsteps echoing on the marble floor. Behind me, accusations erupt, Gregory's thundering blame toward Julian, Elaine's tearful insistence that someone call their attorney, Julian's desperate claim that he can fix this. I don't look back. Outside, spring sunlight warms my face. My phone buzzes with a message from Jade. Done? I text back a single word. Free. Is revenge ever truly satisfying, or does it leave us hollow? Standing here, breathing deeply for what feels like the first time in 3 years, I don't feel hollow at all. I feel like myself again. Morning light pours through the bay windows of my Portland brownstone, casting long rectangles across the hardwood floors. My fingers trace the grain of the oak conference table, far cry from the cold marble and crystal that defined my previous life. So we're agreed on the sustainable energy portfolio, I ask, meeting the eyes of my small team gathered in what was once a formal dining room, now my home office. Nadia, our chief analyst, nods. The numbers make sense, and their leadership team has the expertise to scale quickly. Perfect. I smile, catching sight of the framed business license hanging on the wall. Harbor Ethics Partners with Donald Westbrook listed as founding investor. Sometimes I still can't believe how completely my life has transformed in just 12 months. After the team leaves, I open a letter from Jade that arrived this morning. Dad says you're the daughter he always wanted in business, she writes. Coming from him, that's like being knighted. He's never been prouder of an investment. I trace my fingers over the words, a quiet satisfaction settling in my chest. The man whose calculating gaze I first met across a hostile ballroom now trusts me with his legacy. My phone buzzes with a calendar reminder. Volunteer orientation at the First Generation Scholarship Foundation starts in an hour. The irony doesn't escape me, guiding students from backgrounds like mine through the maze of privilege they'll soon encounter. The doorbell chimes as I slip on my blazer. My friends arrive with balloons and a homemade cake, 2 days early for my birthday. We know you're busy tomorrow, says Lynn, arm length through mine. So surprise. They sing off key while I blow out candles, their faces bright with genuine affection. No strategic smiles, no social calculations, just warmth. On my desk sits the newspaper clipping announcing the sale of the Greenwich mansion. Graves Estate sells for 60% below asking, reads the headline. The accompanying photo shows Gregory looking 10 years older, shoulders stooped. Beside it lies Camille's postcard from Austria, unexpectedly reflective. Sometimes I wonder if all of this was worth it. No signature, just her initials. Julian's email sits unanswered in my inbox. The subject line reads, "Closure. Some doors should remain closed." When you're navigating elite circles that weren't built for people like us, remember that their acceptance is less valuable than your authenticity. My words hang in the air of the crowded auditorium. The young scholarship student who asked the question nods slowly, recognition dawning in her eyes. "I spent years trying to earn a place at a table where I was never meant to sit," I continue. "But the real power came when I built my own." The applause starts softly, then swells. As I stand on the same stage where I once presented as a student, the standing ovation washes over me like a cleansing tide. Later, I sign the final documents for Harbor Ethics Partners investment in a Detroit-based sustainable energy company founded by two brilliant engineers from historically Black colleges. Next week, I'll announce our foundation's donation to the Children's Oncology Foundation, funded by the sale of Camille's seized jewelry collection. The evening settles around me as I work in peaceful solitude, finalizing plans for our community financial literacy program. Reports of Gregory's retirement for health reasons from his remaining business interests crossed my desk this morning. How quickly empires fall when built on shifting sand. The simple band I bought myself after removing my wedding ring catches the lamplight. No diamonds, no family crest, just a silver circle representing the promise I made to myself. Standing on my porch as twilight blankets Portland, my phone lights up with a message from Westbrook. "Ready to change the world?" I watch stars appear over a skyline so different from Boston's glittering towers. "I already have," I whisper to the night air. True revenge wasn't bringing them down, it was rising without them.